Let's now open the book that perhaps has remained closed for the past 7 days and look what a wondrous jungle space this is. In fact, the jungle is something like a book that we cannot quite complete reading. For every day there is a fresh page to be seen and observed. So we've got an extra page that we have lined up for you to enjoy today. And we beg you to stay with us and enjoy this trip with the Wild Asia TV teams. It is not customary amongst the animals where the offspring remain at home waiting for the mother and the father to forage in the forest and bring home their food. Rather, they themselves accompany their parents as they walk around the jungle, and while doing so, they find their food and that way are able to sustain themselves. But interestingly, whatever lessons they do learn as appropriate to living and life is learnt while they are thus moving around and walking about in the forests.
This small family of elephants is ambling along looking for food. The baby elephant hidden in the tall iluk grass did not stray away but kept close to the adults. This baby is about 1 year old. Maybe there are venomous serpents hidden in the grass. In addition, there may be other dangers too. But that is jungle life. Roaming about in the jungle amidst its many dangers and gathering necessary experience for life. But for this baby elephant, gathering food has no significance. It is just a suckling dependent on its mother. Elephants take leaves, tender shoots, branches and fruits from trees as well as grass that grows on the forest floor as food. Shrubs and bark from trees also form part of their diet, which is about 150 kilos a day. To procure this volume of food, they have to spend 17 to 19 hours of the day foraging for it. How difficult it is to maintain a body so bulky.
The seeker seems to be born as true in this instance, because a very rarely seen bird, almost accidentally, we on our trip did encounter. And for those who are earnest bird watchers, this might very well register as a very special moment. For indeed, this particular species of bird is very rarely seen and has been recorded the least number of times.
It was quite by chance that we came upon an orange-headed thrush, Zoothera citrina, which is quite a rare bird. Though it was only for a few seconds that we saw it, our Wild Asia team was so full of appreciation and thanks to this little bird for its visit. The head and underbody of the orange-headed thrush is orange. The upper body is bluish-grey. Though it can live in all parts of the island, it is rarely seen. It is a native of the Himalayas and Tibet.
Now here in this great forest, Singharaja, there are obviously great diversity and all sorts of animals that we can observe at close quarters. There's also a very special variety of frog. In fact, here in this region of the tropical rainforest, there are endemic species of frogs in abundance. But in order for us to be able to take a good look and learn about these frogs, well, I guess we have to go deep into the forest.
Here we see a native of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan rock frog that lives in the Singharaja jungles. Part of an enormous biodiversity complex, this special animal lives on wet rocks near small waterfalls. Transforming itself into the color of the rock, one cannot distinguish the frog from the rock on which it stays. The young frogs and the eggs live on the stones, which is a special feature of this frog. The Sri Lankan rock frog, which lives in the Singharaja forest, has a special place in the record of information being compiled by the Wild Asia team because it is a very important link in the animal species indigenous to Sri Lanka.
Friendships are not built upon the size that one has inherited. Well, the big ones have very small friends, but the small friends, if they try to assume the bigness of their big friends, well, that could be a problem. But in the jungle, that's not usually a problem. In fact, friends live on the goodwill of each other toward the other. And this is what friendship is all about.
When elephants eat grass, the cranes also benefit. This elephant quietly munches grass. When the elephant takes a tuft of grass with its trunk, the insects in that bundle of grass fly away. The beneficiaries in this instance are the cranes. The cranes get a free meal. It doesn't end there. The parasites on the elephant's skin, like lice and mites, are tasty morsels for the cranes. An excellent example of mutual cooperation and goodwill. In this case, the mighty elephant disregards his might, while the cranes, small as they are, forget their stature. The result? Mutual well-being.
Coming into an illegal occupation of a house or a property, that is something that belongs to another person, is a very serious thing. In fact, you could be punished severely for such an action, and also perhaps even take it as a matter in a case in court. And inasmuch as it is a disgusting thing to do, a vile thing to do, it is also something that does occur at times in the jungle spaces. But wherever it happens, it's not a good thing.
A she-parrot looked around with a lot of care and poked her head into the hollow of a tree. She thought it was empty and no one was using it. The parrot realized its mistake when the myna inside started yelling and shrieking. The myna was very angry with the uninvited guest. It started pecking the parrot ferociously, and the parrot could do nothing but fly away as fast as it could. These are unpardonable incidents where the time and the place become insignificant. Look before you leap is a good maxim to adhere to before one enters a place without invitation. It is indeed a risk to enter a place without first knocking on the door.
Time is of utmost importance in most of our affairs, our day-to-day affairs. Were we to catch the train, it's on the basis of what time is it, and what time is it that we arrive at our workplaces. Time. But in the jungles, time does not operate in quite that fashion. Whatever the sun does, coming up or going down, that is what decides the activities in the forest. So, even though there is a fine art to time, there is no time in the jungle.
It was sunset in the jungle. The elephants were beginning to feel somewhat lonely prior to the oncoming night. They are very sensitive animals and exhibit their love and affection to each other at these times. True to the statement that it is at these times of parting that love stings most, the elephants started caressing each other. It is said that the Asian elephant is more intelligent than the African elephant. Also, there is a variation of the nasal canal at the end of the trunk. The trunk, made entirely out of muscle minus any bones, is the most important organ of an elephant. Their behavior, so full of feeling when the shadows of the night are peeping, indicates that taking leave of loved ones, even temporarily, is painful. But these mighties realize that it is a short leave-taking, and they will soon meet again.
You may have heard the story of the sour grapes. Yeah, the fellow who tried to jump up and reach some grapes and found that it was far too high, and then later said, oh, they were sour grapes and that he didn't have any need for them, and walked off. Well, that's an old story. It happened a long time ago. But this one is what occurred very recently.
These two foxes, well known as carnivores, suddenly stopped near the palu tree, otherwise known as the Manikara hexandra tree. It was the fruit season and the ripe fruit had fallen on the ground. Forgetting they were carnivores, these two started relishing the honey-laden fruit. Surely it's an unusual phenomenon to see foxes eating fruit. Apparently, these two modern foxes had momentarily left aside their usual practice of attacking meat to attack this fruit. fruits of antiquity, which jumped up again and again to reach the grapes, must have been a pioneer fruit eater. What unusual occurrences there must be in this world which we never get occasion to witness. The efforts of our Wild Asia team is to implant an ordinary setting to these extraordinary events. Take your fill, friend fox. Enjoy the palu fruit.
We each have our own aims and goals. However, it might be observed that despite two heads sleeping on the same pillow, those two sleepers will have different dreams. And that seems to be true even in the jungle, in the life therein. Even though these occupy the same place near this water body, their aims and purposes are divergent. And that's exactly what we are able to observe here.
The biodiversity of this jungle is so varied. Everyone that visits this waterhole has a distinct lifestyle. The eagle was on a hunt, waiting for prey. With its eagle eyes, it was surveying the neighborhood. The cranes had their own agenda. That too was connected to hunting. Remember the turtle that took a ride in the sky with two cranes? Well, this one too is enjoying the sunlight, bathing its back. Was that occasional look at the sky a reminder of that flight? The wild ducks were hangers-on. Their thoughts centered on a swim. When we look at the variety of life here, their thoughts are also similar to ours. Though gathered in one location, each has its own distinct purpose. Though blooming in the same copse, each variety of flower has its own fragrance.
So next week at the same time, we would like to be able to conduct you on a tour of the jungle spaces. So don't forget to join us, the Wild Asia TV teams, once again. But for now, it's goodbye and do take care.